Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to take a miracle for him to keep his job. I really do. I mean, I'm not the biggest Mike Woodson fan in the world, but I just you have to ask that question: is he the one that can get this team to the next level? And if we're going through a situation where the next level has once again for this franchise become the second round as far as topping out, well, that's no better than anybody else has done in the history of this franchise, unfortunately, and that's not good enough. I mean, especially with the talent that has been constructed, because you got to give Rick some credit here. I mean, look, he's got a pretty talented and deep roster that a lot of teams have got to be envious of.
It's a solid starting five. There's no superstar in there, and I think everybody who watches basketball, even if you're a statistician or you're just a scout or you're watching, you got to have a star to take it to another level. So, the Hawks don't have that. They have a very solid starting five. Their bench which was abysmal prior to the season, is okay this year, which is an improvement. But I don't think that's going to translate to challenging Cleveland, Orlando, or Boston for any Eastern Conference supremacy. Remember, the Hawks were 2-10 against those teams in the regular season. And I don't think the Hawks have done much to try to be able to push past that this year.
Joe Johnson has come out and said he's not signing an extension, at least not right now. What should we read into that? Is this his final season in Atlanta?
Well, I think it means that he's going to take a look at what he wants to do after this year. Now, when he was with Phoenix, he knew what he wanted. He wanted to be the man somewhere, and he made that happen by coming to Atlanta, and he's certainly been the man in Atlanta. Maybe now that he's gone through it, and look, he's been worked hard by the Hawks that he's been here. He wanted to be the man. Well, he's been the man, and it's not just how many minutes he plays, which he's always among the league leaders. It's the types of minutes he plays. He always takes the toughest defensive assignment, so he's working hard on that end. Then he comes down and grinds it out on the offensive end, takes all the crunch time minutes. All that stuff takes its toll. If he were a running back, he'd be getting 40 carries a game, and it just wears you down. So maybe Joe takes a look. You know what? I've done this. I'm wearing myself out. Maybe I need to take a number 2 role somewhere, and suddenly I'm freer to shoot 48% from three-point range, or like he was in Phoenix. So it just means he's going to take a look. Who knows? He may just have such a love for Atlanta and a love for the role that he plays that he stays. But I think by not signing the extension, he's allowing himself the opportunity to reflect and make a choice next year.
Have you detected positive or negative feedback on his call by the fans? I mean, do they care?
No, I don't know. I don't. Are you asking if the fans care whether he comes back?
I mean, do you think the fans are to the point where they're saying, well, if it's not you, we'll get somebody else? And
well, I tell you what, it's tough. And the one thing that the Jamal Crawford trade did to the Hawks was it added another $10 million in salary next year. So even if Joe walks out the door and the Hawks renounce him, the Hawks won't have enough cap space in the offseason to attract another star-level player. So you have to be real careful what you wish for if you're an Atlanta Hawks fan. Because Joe Johnson is a fabulous player, miscast as a superstar, but he's not miscast as a workhorse. And he's very good, and he does so many different things. There's so many things that would have to be replaced if Joe Johnson walked out the door, was injured for the season, that it's kind of scary to think what if. I think they're going to have to ride. Hawks fans should hope to ride that out and hope that Jeff Teague becomes something more, rather than Joe walking out and struggling to try to replace him with $7 or $8 million level talent.
But they could still sign and trade him, couldn't they?
They could do that, right? But that becomes a little more difficult, and Joe would have to be willing to do that as well.
Yeah, Jason Walker is our guest, humanhighlightblog.com. That does put the pressure on Joe Johnson for this year, but when you look at the other core players, particularly Al Horford, Marvin Williams, and Josh Smith, there was some talk in training camp, it seemed, about Marvin getting ready to take that next step in his game. What is he, in his 5th year now, and
right.
He's ready to go. But he's got to stay healthy first and foremost, doesn't he?
Sure, and he took such a big step last year that I think people are hoping, well, what can he do this year?
Right.
But I don't know if he can make a similar jump in status as he did last year. Going into last year, Marvin Williams was still unproven and unknown. And then all of a sudden he's added the three-point shot to his repertoire. I'd like to see him do that again this year to show that it wasn't a fluke. But he added a lot more. He was a lot more aggressive. I mean, it was such a change. He became so much more valuable to the team last year that when he was injured for a big part of the season, then came back, in Phillips Arena. He got a standing ovation from the crowd. It tells you just how far Marvin Williams came last year. I don't know if he's going to be able to make that big of a jump, but you're right. It starts with getting through 82 games.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I've always been a really big Marvin Williams fan, and, of course, he took a lot of heat because of where he was drafted compared to Chris Paul, but the kid has got talent, and that's one thing I wonder about Jason. I know I'm looking ahead here a little bit with Joe Johnson, but if Joe were gone, which one of these guys would be the guy, the man?
Well, it also depends on the offense that they're playing. I think in the offense that they're playing now, the post is not relevant. So you're taking away Josh Smith and Al Horford offensively. They're left to kind of scrap. To kind of scrap around or hit outside shots. I think Marvin, and we've seen this in games that Joe has set out. Marvin's been the one to step up. We remember the game in Charlotte last year where Marvin got to the line, shot 20 free throws, and Larry Brown made the comment, well, anytime you're playing a guy like LeBron James, it's a difficult thing. Marvin stepped up and played a great game, and he's done this in Joe's absence. So I think it would be, if you're using an if-then scenario, if Joe Johnson weren't here, let's say for an injury, it would be Marvin that would step up and carry the load.
All right, a couple other quick questions for you before we let you get out of here. Look, a lot of love to Washington for some reason. Sports Illustrated, I was telling you this on the phone yesterday, Sports Illustrated has them as the 4th seed, winning 50 games. I mean, Flip Saunders must be kin to somebody at Time Warner, for crying out loud. I just didn't get that. And is Jamison out for 3 weeks to start the season, I think? Or Hayward, one of those two, I think, will be out for a couple of weeks to start. I mean, I know they're getting Arenas back, but 50 wins in the 4th seed from Washington, is Flip Saunders going to make that much of a difference?
Well, if he do, he's worth every penny they paid him.
You ain't kidding.
And we got an easy Coach of the Year candidate there. But, yeah, 52 wins and a playoff in a 4th home court, I think that's pie in the sky for Wizards fans. I mean, I think they would be the first ones to tell you that. Yeah, they got some downtime from Jamison, and there's no guarantee Arenas can make it through a whole season either. So, Sports Illustrated, remember, this is once upon a time, they trumpeted Arizona as the best college football team in the country. So SI is known for making big statements, and the bigger the better, and that's certainly one of them. But I think Washington, I think the team and the fans would be happy, hey, let's just get to the playoffs.
Yeah, they also had Stafford and Marino won last year, too, so that shows you what SI knows. Hey, now we saw Cleveland last night fall to Boston. It didn't look like that Shaq-LeBron duo did much damage to the mighty Celtics. Is Cleveland going to be able to knock down Boston and Orlando in the East?
Yeah, no. I don't think Cleveland will. I think that this is the swan song for LeBron James and Cleveland. I think they've done what they can, but I don't think And we said this when Shaq was traded to Cleveland. That wasn't the issue. Dominance inside wasn't the issue. And Shaq was pretty good last night. It was less about that and more about trying to defend Dwight Howard and guys like that. And the Celtics certainly show that they can get out and run. And if Shaq's in the game, that's trouble. I think Cleveland's just going to have trouble matching up with those top two teams. They're still going to be great, 50-plus wins. LeBron is the best player in the league. But I think from a team standpoint, they're still going to fall short of, you watch the Magic play, and they're so deep, and they have such an understanding of what they want to do on both sides of the court. And then you got a guy like Dwight Howard who's, going to give LeBron a run for the MVP this year. It's a strong team, and I don't think, not that Cleveland would be a bad team, but it's not going to be something that's going to be able to take out Orlando. If the Celtics stay healthy, they'll be trouble for Cleveland too. But there's some doubt about that. But Orlando's definitely the team to beat in the East.